I don't mind a long movie, but in this particular movie, there are scenes that are just unnecessary. They make you like Diana less. There are scenes that make you like Diana less as a person. Um, she's, that all of the street cred that Wonder Woman had is it's been taken down. Wonder Woman 3 is gonna have to shift it up such a gear in quality for Wonder Woman to ever have that kind of street cred and good feeling that the initial movie gave it. So there is that. Patty Jenkins did this terrible thing. Now, where I'm going to give this movie some credit, okay? Because I've been saying a lot of bad things about the movie, and rightly so. It deserves every bit of criticism and whatever that it is getting online. Where I will say that maybe it's getting a bit unfairly bashed is that it truly does pick up in the second half of the movie. So for about a good hour of the movie, when they get on the plane to go to Egypt, when the action set piece that where they're facing Maxwell Lord and he's stolen these forces. He's used his magic to steal military forces to protect him, which is very, very convenient. I'll go. So there's that. All of that stretch of the movie, it's not fantastic. I'm not gonna gas it up, but it's good. It's fine. If the movie was consistently that quality, it would have been something. So this part of the movie elevates it above like your Green Lanterns or your Superman quest for Superman 3 and 4 and Batman Returns and Batman and Robin. That part of the movie, that second half stretch of the movie, actually elevates it a lot. There's some good action, where she's saving people. There's the invisible jet. The way the invisible jet happens, so it's a little bit silly, but with a less stupid first half, you could have forgiven how the invisible jet happened. I don't like Patty Jenkins just adding whatever power she wants to Wonder Woman. Just keep to the powers she has in the comics. She should have been flying from the beginning, so I appreciate that now they've made it so that she can fucking fly, rather than jumping around but she's got cool powers in the comics. Just keep to the power set that she has in the comics, not swinging on lightning and just let her fly. There's no need for messing around with it. She can just fly. And so this second stretch of the thing is good. The invisible jet flying through the fireworks is wondrous. Again, great scene. The bit where after Diana fights Cheetah, that whole scene. I'll tell you what, Kristen Wiig as a performance once she's the evil Cheetah. It's not the greatest comic book villain performance of all time, but it's fucking good. It's competent. It's really good. I felt it when she was kicking the guy who initially had tried to, tried to kind of assault her in the park or whatever. When she's kicking that guy and she's saying all those things, I thought that was fantastic. That was probably the best acting in the whole film, to be honest. There's a bit at the end, just towards the final climax, when Steve and Diana are about to, she has to give up Steve Trevor and go and, get her full powers back, so she can save the world. I thought Gal Gadot's face and her whole expression in that was wonderful. It almost mirrored the way she was crying as a child in Themyscira, and she just looked exactly. It was so good, her facial acting during that scene. The dialogue she was given wasn't great, but the emotion was raw and real, and it was a fantastically performed scene by Gal Gadot. And I was like, where was that the whole film? That vulnerability that Wonder Woman has, that, humanity that Wonder Woman has. Where was that this whole film? That is what we wanted to see this whole film. That is what crushes you, that this badass warrior, has just this great depth and well of emotion and humanity. And that was the best scene in the film, when Diana is leaving Steve. The action is actually really good in this movie. The only problem with the action is that Diana doesn't do hand-to-hand combat. If there was hand-to-hand combat in between the little pieces here and there of action, where she's saving people, a lot of it's the saving stuff, the way she's saving people, the way she's, it's fantastic, the music, her running after, some of the camera work is a little bit wonky here and there, but she's running after, tanks in Cairo, and you're just like, cool, let's get her on a car, fighting some of these guys, doing a little bit of hand-to-hand combat, doing some somersaults into the thing and kicking one off into the street, doing warrior shit. She had every opportunity here to do all the saving stuff, which was epic, and kick ass without hurting people, and it wouldn't have meant that she had to hurt people as well. Just a few hand-to-hand combat things where she takes guys out, guys who are shooting guns, boom, smash the gun, do something and then take him out, throw him into the sand, just a little bit more, and hand-to-hand stuff. And the same goes for the White House. You've got the Secret Service all in there. She should have been taking out like 40 Secret Service guys without, injuring them, like doing different methods and, whatever, and going through them somehow, getting to the guns quick enough, even though she hasn't got her super speed and whatever. And then right at the end, some of them get through to hurting her. And that's when, Cheetah comes in. Have a good action scene with Cheetah, where at first Cheetah's trying to deal with Wonder Woman's warrior skills, but then Cheetah, just speed blitz her because she's just too fast. That would have been cool, right? If they had have just upped the hand-to-hand combat, because every bit of the action scene is fine in and of itself, but the lacking thing is Wonder Woman just doing her thing, being a warrior. We know she's noble, we know she's kind, we know she's not trying to hurt people, we know, all of that stuff, but she has to get through these people to save the world. It's understandable, right? She can take them out, in a way that is still respectful of the fact that, she respects human life. That's fine. So that whole bit, bar it lacking action, bar it lacking hand-to-hand combat, the second half of the film has far less scenes that I would just say, just cut that. Just cut that scene. There was maybe one scene or two scenes I would have said, just cut from the second half. But all in all, as soon as they get on the, on the plane, and it turns invisible, and all of that stuff that's the best stuff with Steve Trevor in terms of their love. That would have been enough for me to sell me on how much they care about each other. Just the scene of them talking in the airplane, and the way they're talking, about themselves. That was enough. They didn't have to lay it on thick in the beginning of the movie with him trying on different clothes and all of this kind of crap, quite frankly, that's in it. It's unworthy of fucking Wonder Woman. Can you imagine a Batman movie where, Batman's there with his girlfriend trying on dude, Batman, you're supposed to be fucking trying to figure out the Joker or the Riddler's plans. Stop with all this dressing up, doing, styling your hair, whatever. Fuck all that. Unnecessary. Trying to figure out an elevator. Unnecessary. It worked out in the first one. Sure, the fact is, you can't retread that ground again with Steve Trevor. It just doesn't work with Steve Trevor. All he had to be is like, wow, airplanes, I can't believe I always dreamt that I could, fly a more, technical, whatever, airplane. And, I was always so fascinated with aviation. Stuff like that, like having like, just the grounding of the first part of this movie would have helped the last part. The MacGuffin is absurd. The rules are, when you've got a magic object like that, where it can do anything, it's like, it makes it too convenient. And this is another thing about this film, this falls into the bad category. Convenient things kept happening so that the story would go forward, right? So they needed an action scene in the desert, right? So Maxwell Lord turns up to this oil person's palace or whatever, this oil baron's palace, and he says, he gives him a wish, because this is how the wishing stone works. The wishing stone works that for every wish that is granted to somebody, something bad happens to them in return. But because Maxwell Lord has wished to turn into the wishing stone, he now has its abilities where he is wishing, where when somebody wishes for something, he can then decide what the opposite or the bad thing is that will happen to them. So, I'm sorry I didn't explain that in the beginning, but this wishing stone MacGuffin that he turns into, this guy, this billionaire oil baron, says, he asks him what's his wish. He wishes that he could have all his lands and whatever, and that he could take his lands away from the people who are not, the ancestors who lived on the, or the descendants of the ancestors, whatever, his ancestral ground or whatever he wanted from it. And then Maxwell Lord says, fine, but I'm taking all your oil. He says, well, that's stupid. All my oil has been sold to the Saudis. And then he's like, okay, if I'm not having your oil, then I will have all of your security forces. And then the security forces just follow him. And you're like, that scene is only there so that Wonder Woman has something to fight in the basically when she's driving like basically when Wonder Woman is that scene where she's driving and she's following all the tanks and she's running, that scene is there conveniently just so that can happen. There's a lot of convenient logic in this movie, which I suppose is another thing that makes even the second half of it really hard to swallow, because instead of having reasons in context of the story for things to happen for the next scene, so it moves organically from one part of the film to another. Instead, the film, just suddenly comes up with a rule, or suddenly comes up with something in the scene just prior, or even in the scene itself. Wonder Woman, the invisible jet, we're flying, Steve doesn't realize there's radar, and then he's like, are they going to shoot at us? As he's trying to take off, and she's like, I know this thing that, my father was able to, and this, I hate the Zeus being her dad, but whatever, they chose the Zeus storyline, and this is the shit that happens when you do this. But anyway, it's good when Wonder Woman is blessed by the goddesses to have certain abilities, right? Flight, strength, wisdom, a good heart, the things that she's blessed by the goddesses to have. She, ability to communicate with the beasts or whatever. That way she has a set, power set, and that's all she has. And if she can't solve a problem through any of these power sets, then that's it, right? This invisible jet, she suddenly has the ability to make things invisible. In the scene that's explained. It's never talked about in Wonder Woman 1. It's not set up in the beginning of this movie anyhow. She just suddenly, has this ability to, my father had this ability, so I've been practicing. And this is a point where she's supposed to be losing her powers. She turns the whole jet invisible. I didn't mind that. I wasn't so upset with that. But it's if that had happened once or twice in the movie, fine. It's hard to figure out how to put an invisible jet in. It was a really good scene that followed, so it was forgivable. But having said that, it happens too much, these conveniences in the movie, where things are set up literally in the scene itself or just the scene before, right? You never hear about these, things in the rest of the movie, so that the thing circles back and the story is flowing properly. And it hurts even the second half of this movie, which is a lot better because the dialogue's better, the acting is better, the characters finally find their feet. So there's that. There's the second half of the movie, which has certain problems that the first part of the movie has, but the writing and everything picks up and is more alive, and more interesting things are happening in the second half. There's some action, there's some spectacular. I could imagine seeing that invisible jet scene on the big screen. It would have been amazing. And I'm still going to go and see it in cinemas, and I'll just because I support Wonder Woman, not this movie, but Wonder Woman. I know there's better movies to be had, and this isn't even Iron Man 2 is bad, but it's not a fall off like Iron Man 2, because Iron Man was still cool in that movie. Whatever you want to say about Iron Man 2 or 3, Iron Man himself, Tony Stark, was still great in that movie, and that's because he had a great actor playing Tony Stark. And there's the problem with Gal Gadot. She's a very likable person. She has a lot of screen charisma when you get it out of her. But if you just don't get it out of her, she's not a great actress. You need to force it, really force it out of her. Just say, do the scene again. Keep the energy up. Do that scene again. She was bad in the first half of this movie, and it was made worse by the writing, which made her an unlikable person as well. So second half of the movie, everything is elevated better, but the convenient, this magic thing can make anything happen, so you can just make up ridiculous things within the scene, solutions to problems that the character has, like the obstacles that any character has, to a particular situation, are solved by magic. Like, oh, we'll just wish that into existence, or we'll just, and magically it happens. And it's like there's no, you never feel like the characters are struggling with anything, because they can just make something happen that will solve their problem instantly. Especially Maxwell Lord, and then also conveniently, it's just, you can see that the mechanics of what's going on. That, oh, you just want an action scene in the next scene, so you need Maxwell Lord to have an army, because obviously he can't take on Wonder Woman by herself. So let's give him an army. We'll wish him an army. It's just wow. So we then go on, as I said, it's entertaining. It's illogical, but it's entertaining, the second half. It's very illogical, but it's entertaining, the second half. I like the jet flying through things. Just a whole bunch of stuff was actually pretty good in the second half. Then you get the last 15 minutes of this film, 15 minutes. And it's not as bad as the first part. It's not as good as the second part. But it's ludicrous. It may have worked. You may have had something there if Gal Gadot could have acted that scene properly. Maybe because... So let me just get into it. The third act of this movie is about... Because the whole movie is about excess and taking shortcuts. And that you need to... You can't just do that. Like greed and whatever, selfishness. That if you can't face the truth and the reality of your situation, and not try and cheat your way out of it, you're never gonna actually grow or something like that. Like you need to accept certain aspects of your circumstances to grow. I don't think it's true that if you cheat to get what you want, that it's not going to work necessarily. A lot of people cheat to get what they want, and their lives are fabulous. They cheat and then they figure out a way to go legal and do everything above board. So I think the message, while morally true, is not actually realistically true. So there's that. That Diana cheats to win a race. There are times that Antiope wouldn't have seen that. Maybe she wasn't observing. She cheats to win the race, wins the race. There are times when cheating works. It just does. So it's kind of a convoluted kind of message, that bad people do bad things and get away with it, or good people do bad things and get away with it. It's more the circus of probability and chance that has anything to do with the outcome of one's actions. If you are a sophisticated enough person at cheating, you could very well improve your life. Should you do that? Should you hurt people? Should you make the world a worse place in order to elevate yourself? Probably not. and in fact, you shouldn't. And it's a good message, if not a bit cliche, to actually say that. And that's the message of the film. And it tries to set up this situation where Diana has to express to Maxwell Lord why what he's doing is wrong, why giving all these people wishes so that he can have more power is wrong. Okay. First of all, the problem with this is why is Maxwell Lord doing any of this? It's never established at the end. Everything up until when he goes into the presidency, I can see, I'm like, okay, I'm along with this. I get why he's doing this. He wants to be successful. He wants to be powerful. But the wish has already given him all of that success and power. Right? So he doesn't need to do any more. He doesn't need to throw the world into chaos and give America all these nuclear weapons so that he can blow himself up and and his children and whatever, his son, put his son in danger. None of that needed to happen. He'd already basically succeeded, in getting money and power. If what he needed to do, which would have made more sense, is he needed to stop Wonder Woman from coming after him and taking this away from him, that would have made more sense. So he needed to get enough power to prevent Wonder Woman from... Because Wonder Woman could have said at some point, I am never going to stop. I'm never going to stop until I've taken this power away from you and all the damage you've done to this world. And he's like, holy shit. And this woman is powerful. She just took out like 40 guards and whatever. And I'm just a mere human at the moment. I need to up my power so that I can, take on, Wonder Woman and prevent her from taking all this stuff I've gained. And then it would have made sense that, now he's, going to the president, giving him all his wishes so that he can get, like, some more power or whatever. So that may have worked, like the excess. He can't, give up this power that he's gained. He's unwilling to let, like, Wonder Woman take this power from him. Would have made a lot more sense. It would have been it's the same motive that actually Cheetah has, which is a really good motive, rather than her being jealous of Wonder Woman or jealous of Diana. Like, she's done a lot better than the same trope that is often followed from Catwoman, which was done fantastically by Michelle Pfeiffer. But then a lot of other people try to copy a similar trope in later movies, where the person is jealous of the hero. In this one, she just doesn't want to lose her strength. She doesn't want to lose her confidence and her beauty. And it makes absolute sense that she would turn against Diana once she realizes Diana is trying to stop Maxwell Lord and get everyone's wishes taken back so as to revert the world back to, its normal situation. So that all is something that makes a ton of sense. Barbara's motivation for continuing. Maxwell Lord, I don't know what he's trying to do by the end. What is he trying to do? Is he trying to destroy the world, or is he... he's definitely not trying to destroy the world, yet he's doing things that he knows are going to destroy the world, just so he could be a powerful person in nothing. And it doesn't make any sense. So all of her conversation with him doesn't make any sense. All of her talk to stop him from doing whatever he's doing, which I don't even understand. Is he like? So I know that the stone is making him, giving these wishes is making him ill, right? But the simple solution to that is, don't you wish I had like good health? He's asking people to wish for him. Don't you? He could have asked anybody. Don't you wish I have good health, or something like that? and maybe he could have got his son to do that. And then what happens is when his son wishes for him to have good health, actually it turns out that his son then gets, you know, like he's he gets bad health or something. Something bad happens to him, right? And it's Maxwell Lord's fault, you know, and that takes him over the edge. Maybe, you know, maybe that's the thing that finally turns him evil, when his wish to have good health even kills his own son. You know, that would have been tragic, but it would have been an emotional beat that would have improved and elevated the Maxwell Lord character by a lot. If his son had have been a casualty of his avarice and greed, and then that could have been what Wonder Woman used, you know, finally to get him out of his mad whatever, where he's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna fuck everything up. If my son can't see me as this great person, and you're gonna take that away from me, and then I'm gonna destroy all. You know, anything would have been better than what happened in the end, because Maxwell Lord's motives just didn't make any fucking sense. It didn't. Again, I don't know, was he trying to get more powerful? How? He was already powerful. He already had all the power of the President of America. He'd wished for it. He got it. He had, you know, everything. There was nothing that he didn't have. So, again, the only thing I can think that would have made sense of this is he's like, look, this Wonder Woman person is trying to take my shit, and she's super fucking obviously awesome and can do all of this stuff that I've seen. I need to ensure that I have enough power to take her out. And that could have been the final act, where she somehow gets, he somehow is like, I need a weapon. I need to change somebody into a weapon that can take out Wonder Woman or whatever. I don't know. Like, it's just, when you've got a wishing thing as the main premise of your film, you've already got a really hard thing. And to be fair to them, the wishing thing wasn't the most absurd thing about the movie. And for the most part, all of the wishing stuff worked. It made things a little bit too convenient at times, but it worked narratively and for the message of the film up until that end thing. And then finally, what really, really ruined the ending is Gal Gadot's acting. And it hurts me, because Gal Gadot, I love. I see her in interviews. I think she's just a fantastic person. I was, you know, even like defended her with when she was singing that Imagine song, you know, during COVID, like during the pandemic. I really, really defended, you know, her. Well, I didn't really defend her. I mean, like, if anybody said anything to me on like Facebook, you know, friends and stuff, I'd say, you know, so what? She wanted to sing a song, you know, to be nice. You know, she seems like a genuine, nice, great person. She produced this. I don't know why she didn't see this. I mean, she has a brain. I know it's really hard as an artist, as somebody who does create things. I know it's really, really hard to look at your own work objectively. It's really difficult. But when something is this bad, I can't imagine you just can't see that it's that bad. Like, I've written bad things where I can't see it's bad, but the actual narrative is much stronger than this. The story, the you know, the basic premise of the story. Maybe the dialogue isn't great or something. The basic premise of the story is a much more, you know. So you know, with a couple of drafts or whatever, it could be good. But this the basic story, and again, it comes down to putting. I think Patty Jenkins, one, has much too much of an obsession with the Linda Carter TV show. She was hugely influenced by that. Didn't go by the comics. The comics, which make a lot more sense. I mean, this is actually, in a funny way, it's like it's made me like Wonder Woman less. And that's terrible. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Wonder Woman. If I was just going off the films and I hadn't spent time to read Gail Simone and read, Down to Earth and all of these great comic book runs of Wonder Woman and see what the character is supposed to be, I would just be like, this is, maybe Wonder Woman isn't that interesting after all. But she is. She really is. And her mythos and Themyscira is all interesting. The politics of it, whatever is happening there is interesting. This movie isn't it. This movie is... it's not that and I'll give it this. It's not that the characterization of Wonder Woman is so way off. Like Man of Steel, the characterization of Clark Kent and Superman is way off. And this is a more compelling character to me, even in this movie, which where it makes me dislike her a little bit with how rude she is sometimes. She's really rude to just random people. She uses her sexuality to gain favors with males in unscrupulous ways. But there is a kindness, and there is, and she has a philosophy of life and whatever that makes it makes that palatable. So it makes her, it makes her, as I said, it makes her more. It's not completely unlike Wonder Woman from the comics. Basically, what they've depicted here in terms of the character itself is not completely unlike. There's a few times where she acts out of character, where she's rude or whatever in this movie, which I don't like and could have been cut out completely, and you would have still had a Wonder Woman that you have almost a complete warm feeling about. And there's still enough vulnerability and stuff there to show that she's still she's got that humanity as well. But it's not that it's not, as I said, it's not that it's completely out of left field and it's not Wonder Woman. The main problem is the story that they've put Wonder Woman in, and it's made Wonder Woman seem less interesting. And so the oh shit, and I haven't even talked about the Cheetah versus Wonder Woman fight yet. That is bad. So there's a Cheetah versus Wonder Woman battle that's bad. But let me just finish off, because as bad as that is, I think the next scene is just completely unforgivable. Now, there's a lot of convenient stuff that happens with the lasso. The lasso can show people the truth. That's true. That comes from the comics. I have no problem with the lasso being able to show people the truth. Her trying to get through this, whatever Maxwell Lord, like some force field Maxwell Lord is putting up to stop Wonder Woman from being able to get to him. And then she finally wraps the lasso around him. Now, in terms of this bit of the film, I accept that, she was struggling and using all of her strength to be able to get into the force field and whatever that he has. I don't know what he was trying to achieve. It still baffles me. He was giving everybody in the world wishes, and they had to renounce their wish for renounce all their wishes for the world to go back to stability, and he then eventually renounces his own wish, which probably cancelled out all the wishes in the world. The lasso of truth shows him, like everything. So all of that, like she was speaking to him to convince him to stop his evil, rather than I'm gonna punch my way into you figuring this out. I think that was good. I would have just done it this way, rather than all this nonsense with force fields. We've already established Maxwell Lord doesn't have powers like that. He either has to wish for powers like that so as to make a little bit of a fight, but I just think it would have looked stupid having Maxwell Lord fighting Wonder Woman. What he could have done is just said, "Look, Diana, you come any closer, and I'll there's somebody who's wished to blow up the world or something like that. You come any closer, I'll make that wish come true. Right? I don't care anymore." And especially if his son had have died or whatever. And then she had just quickly lassoed him and then got him to, see the truth, and told him this convoluted kind of moral message that the movie had. And again, I don't know if the moral message was hokey, but I do know that Diana or Gal Gadot's delivery of the message was bad. It was really, really, really bad. Her line delivery, and it ruined any possible hope that even on some surface level you could feel the heart of this movie. And this movie did have a lot of heart, I'll give it that. Patty Jenkins is obviously a good person who wants to use these superhero movies to say something, not to just be joyrides with no message or no meaning. She clearly wanted to imbue this story with meaning, and have some kind of message, have some kind of, and that's what Wonder Woman does. She's a teacher, and that's how she, so I applaud Patty Jenkins for wanting to do that and then to imbue this with heart. But, Gal Gadot can't pull off this dialogue at the end. She can't make us feel that she really means this. Like everything she's saying, I'm like, I don't believe you. I don't believe that this is the case, that you believe what you're saying to me. It doesn't sound inspirational. It sounds melodramatic and just bad. And then you've got Pedro Pascal hamming it up. Like, oh, I wish I'd give you this, I give you that. I grant you the wish, I grant you, just hamming it up majorly while she's doing this speech and giving the truth, and it just makes the whole thing absurd. Terrible third act. This third act was worse than the third act from the first movie. Believe it or not, which I always thought wasn't terrible. I think she had to fight someone, and to be honest, everyone was always telling me, oh no, they could have had an ending where Ares wasn't in it and blah blah blah. That movie would have got panned, like this one is getting panned, if there wasn't a third act action scene with Ares. I don't care how, unimaginative or uninspired, it was at least something. Some of it was interesting, visually interesting, her fighting Ares, and Ares gave the speech. It was that was, like the devil giving Jesus the temptation or whatever. And Gal Gadot pulled off that inspirational speech, like, it's not about what you deserve, it's about... It worked. She pulled that off. It was great right at the end. So why she was doing it, like, I think it's, you know, giving an inspirational speech. I think this is another directing issue where you're lying down and you're in pain and you're on the floor, you know, and you're trying to give an inspirational speech. This should have been a thing where Wonder Woman just boss walked in, you know, he threatened her with something. She grabs him with the lasso, and she's like, "Look at you know," talks to her, talks to him, and you know, explains whatever. And then she's like, "I'm not talking to you." She gets everyone to renounce their wishes, and then she's like, but actually, I see the truth of you now. I see why, you know, and like, just give some kind of. She was good at giving those speeches in the first movie. It is, yeah, you know, I Gal Gadot is bad in this movie, but she can be good. Clearly, she can be good, but she's got worse. There's only a handful of scenes where I thought, wow, like this is Gal Gadot really is doing well in this. People saying like they can't imagine anyone else as Wonder Woman. I can imagine a lot of people as Wonder Woman apart from her. That just that are always good at acting. They're always good. That it doesn't. They don't. You know, you're paid tens of millions of dollars to act, and you're not. You're not a good actress. You know, like you can't. The scene would have been infinitely better if Gal Gadot could have pulled and delivered those lines. And if she couldn't deliver those lines, Patty Jenkins, you should have cut it so that you took only the best bits of that speech and just cut the rest. Yeah. So, third act wasn't as bad as the first act. Um, Second act was actually quite a decent movie. Third act was a mess. It's a mess. All I like about this movie really is that Wonder Woman can fly at the end of this. Um, but in terms of the legacy of Wonder Woman, man, this has hurt it. And I don't want to see Linda Carter back in a major role in Wonder Woman 3. I think that's a disaster waiting to happen. The woman cannot act anymore. She was good as Wonder Woman in the 70s when it was hammy and whatever. I love Linda Carter. Trust me, I love her. I love her. I love her. And if there was a better director or a director who had proven themselves on the second movie, then I would say absolutely bring Linda Carter in for something. But she does a mid-credit scene which suggests they want to bring her into the third movie somehow and make her. No. Patty Jenkins, quite frankly, has to go. That's the way I see it. Or just don't do another. Like, I love Wonder Woman. I love her. But just don't do another one until you reboot. It's that bad. It really is that bad that you can't really, you can't go anywhere from this. I just don't think, because it's lowered people's feeling, that magic feeling they had about Wonder Woman. I think it hurts the first movie even. You know, it really hurts that first movie a little bit. You have to. I mean, the third one just would have to be magnificent. It isn't the same as Iron Man 2. Iron Man 1 was good. Iron Man 2 was not as good. The villains weren't as good, etc., etc. But, having said all that, the script was tighter, the dialogue was not so bad as... it was just the story that was bad. In this one, everything is bad. The story's bad, the acting's bad, the dialogue is bad. It's just lowered Wonder Woman's status, her credibility, her street credits lowered. And there are people who will want to defend this, and I understand why. Watching this movie was the hardest thing in terms of being a fan that I've ever had to watch. It was crushing. Just as it was going along, and I realized, oh no, what have you done? It was just slowly, and I was like, maybe they can bring it back. Maybe they can bring it back. So I understand, I did a similar thing during Man of Steel where I was like, oh, trying to justify this, that, and the other about it. It wasn't that bad a movie. It wasn't, because I was such a fan of Superman that I couldn't comprehend in my brain that they'd made such a terrible Superman movie. And this one's worse than Man of Steel. Unfortunately, it is worse than the Man of Steel. It lacks. It's just taken down Wonder Woman's street cred. So, that's it really. It's a big. I guess I'm just gonna call this a big Wonder Woman 1984 rant. I like Patty Jenkins. I really do. I think she's just a great person, and it's so unfortunate for me to feel this way about her movie. It's disappointing. I've defended Wonder Woman 1 a lot. And this is not the worst DC movie or one of the worst DC movies. It's not. I don't hate it even. Because I even admire what it was going for. But my only thing that I want to take away from this is be fair. Do not reward people for failure. She is a great person, a nice person. She's a good ambassador for Wonder Woman. But she's shown her hand in this movie. Her instincts are all off on the character, on everything basically, and she has to go. That's basically it. This is her baby, and she has to go. It doesn't matter if she's a nice person or whatever. It's what you create, and this is so bad that it's not even like, even if this was just a little bit middling or whatever, like Iron Man 2 or whatever, you could still be like, oh, I'll give Jon Favreau another go at Iron Man 3. It wasn't like that bad. Whoever directed Iron Man 2, I would have given him another go at Iron Man 3. It wasn't that bad. Whoever, even Man of Steel, I particularly don't like it. I would have given Zack Snyder another chance at, Man of Steel 2, even though he did that Batman v Superman stuff, which was just a horrible mistake. As much as I think the movie is not as bad as people make out, it was a horrible mistake. And that's where I was like, okay, Zack, gotta go. Now, with Patty Jenkins, you're like, the problem is that Wonder Woman 1 wasn't so good that you can forgive the mess that is Wonder Woman 2. It wasn't Batman Begins good. It wasn't Donna Superman good. It wasn't Spider-Man 1 good. It was really, really good character work on Diana. nice cinematography, nice score, great, emotional set piece, but there were real weaknesses that I would have I put down to the budget. That it didn't have a good enough budget, so I forgave her for some of the action scenes not being up to snuff, all the slow motion stuff which was unnecessary. I forgave her for a lot of that because the budget wasn't up there. It was her first time, not much experience, and I forgave, like, okay, you can make some mistakes in the villains and whatever because you're trying to set up Wonder Woman. You're trying to make Wonder Woman the compelling character. So you even though it wasn't necessary, but you failed to really give her good villains to go against. So it was Iron Man level good, right? That Wonder Woman 1 was Iron Man, which is high. That's very fucking good. That's not bad. It was Iron Man level good. But the Wonder Woman 1984 is so bad that you can't, for a $200 million movie. I'm not saying it's the worst superhero movie in the world, but for a $200 million movie, a slam dunk, so easy to just try and make a good movie, and you don't. You fail so spectacularly. You've just gotta go, Patty Jenkins, and I'm sorry because I fucking really defend her and I like her and I hope she gets better in her craft, but she's got to go. I feel very, very scared about like Cleopatra with Gal Gadot's acting in this. Very, very frightened for that movie. Very frightened for the Rogue Squadron Star Wars movie with Patty Jenkins. This is terrifying that this woman can do this to an IP, and I hate when people are really much more tough on women who do bad movies or big tentpole movies and it's bad. I hate that. I think sometimes it's much more exaggerated, which is why I defended her so much in Wonder Woman 1. I was like, dude, give her a break here. This is really good. It's really good emotional work. This is probably one of the most emotional superhero movies I've ever seen. As much as I think Batman Begins is a much better movie, technically speaking, and everything like that. Like for origin movies, there are better. Like she's in the top echelon of good origin movies, but she comes below. Like the epic Superman 1, epic Batman Begins, but she's up there. So I was always defending Patty Jenkins against certain mistakes she made in that movie. And I believed in her in the second movie. Really did. But she's got to go. There's no other fucking way. I wish they could recast Gal Gadot as well, to be honest. It's that, I would just reboot it and put it in the modern era. Do another version of Wonder Woman where they're in the modern era. Even if you have to redo the origin movie again, get rid of this Zeus bullshit and just reset the whole thing. But that's not going to happen. So realistically speaking, some of the creatives behind Wonder Woman 2 have to go, and the one that I think most of all is Patty Jenkins. Everyone else, everything else could have been saved in this movie, even with the script it has, with better directing. You could have made this movie 10 times less offensive with better directing. The cheesiness of this movie makes the plot line, which is bad, worse, right? And actually, given the illogical premise of the movie, sometimes even in the writing, they make sense and actually do some cool things with it. You know, the way Maxwell Lord, tricks people into giving them his wish. That was actually quite cool. I like the way he was doing that. So that could have been saved. Um, you know, if they had a toned down what he was doing or how he was doing it a little bit more, Maxwell Lord, in terms of the acting. Um, and another thing, a big thing that could take down the cheesiness, take down all the cheesy scenes. Another thing that could have saved it, quite simple. Um, put more action. You know, do what Aquaman did. Terrible script, but great epic action just to distract people who don't care about narrative from the fact that it's a bad script. You could have just done that. Just put epic action scenes in this, and you would have at least, again, a Patty Jenkins problem. When you're written down on the page what Wonder Woman is doing in an action scene, you know, that doesn't necessitate the that's the director's decision. That's the action director and the director's decision what Wonder Woman's actually doing in those action scenes. How long those action scenes take. Just inject it with more action, and you could have saved the movie. Another thing, obviously, you could have read that script and been like, oh, you know, she even asked for more time to finish the movie. It's like, it's crazy. She got everything she wanted. She got more time to finish the movie. She could have said, give me a script. I need somebody to rewrite this script again. Can you get me the guy who did Shazam? See if he can just maybe tighten the script up a little bit, because this script is the beginning is a mess. It's got a good second half, whatever. So there's that, and then there's the fact that people at Warner Brothers were even telling her this looks cheesy. There were people saying to her, this looks cheesy, and she was like, oh no, you've got to wait till the effects are done and then you'll see that it's actually, it's not going to look good without the effects. And they're like, doesn't matter about the effects, the context, the very premise of this scene is fucking cheap. It's good to have a director-driven studio, and I like the idea of DC doing this, but you can't afford to lower the credibility of an IP like this. This is Wonder Woman, and you've destroyed her. Like, you need a completely different team to come in and rehabilitate this character. After 2 good movies, then you can fuck around. Like with Batman, right? You had Batman 1, Batman Returns. Alright, we're here. Batman's fucking cool. With Superman 1, Superman 2, we're here for Superman. Superman's cool. You can fuck around with the first movie of someone. Oh, sorry, you can fuck around with the third movie in a franchise. You can't fuck around with the first 2 movies. You have got to make sure the first one and the second one are fantastic. The first one builds the hype. The second one puts it over the edge so that the character reaches superstardom. There might be a lot of people who just don't go and see Wonder Woman 3. Even if it's a great movie and everyone says that it's 99%, 100% of the critics, everyone who goes and sees it says this is 100%, this is fair. They've completely reversed and made up for all of the mistakes of the second one. There may still be people who just are like, dude, I just don't like this character based on the second movie. It's bad. it's that bad. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Gone on for a very very long video. I might cut this into 2 parts. Yeah, I think I will cut this into part 1 and 2, or maybe even 4 parts. But yeah, thank you for listening. It's been a very long rant on this movie. I'm super disappointed, and it's just, as I said, Patty Jenkins had every opportunity, and I know she's a really, really nice lady, really kind, but this is a failure that is, it's exposed her a little bit. It's exposed her. I mean, even some of the things she was saying, like, oh, if she could have cast Wonder Woman, she wouldn't have cast Gal Gadot, and she probably would have cast an American woman. That shows to me she doesn't understand the character. That shows to me that maybe she's a fan of the 70s TV show, which I can't see. Sorry, I'm not being funny, but I don't think that Patty Jenkins, as a director who is into all of these great films, is sitting around watching Wonder Woman Linda Carter's series. Because at this point, as much as great as Linda Carter was, and as great as that show was for that time, the show's unwatchable now. It's just not a good show. The first episode or so is good, and then the rest is just, it's practically unwatchable. So if she's taking that as a template, as what you should do with a Wonder Woman movie, rather than using good Wonder Woman comics, go, oh, what are the top 10 comics that people like of Wonder Woman? And then using that, go, oh, all right, I'm going to read through all of these stories. Let me see what the characters are, how they work, and then let's use that to create the vibe for a Wonder Woman movie. I don't know what she was doing. But it wasn't good. And as I said, it's not the worst DC film ever. And it's not even one of in the bottom pack of DC, like Jonah Hex or anything like that. But it's such a spectacular fall from the first one. That it's too much. You can't come back from this. It's almost, it's bad. It's like a career-ending movie. Honestly, that's how bad and spectacular a fall it is. It's almost like a career-ending movie. It's a franchise-ending movie. I want more Wonder Woman. I want more, but this is a franchise jeopardizing movie. And she did it. And that's what's bad about it. It's not like it's the worst DCEU movie. There are things that are much better than the worst DCEU movies, but there are things that are much worse than the acting in the first half of the movie is much worse than any of the acting apart from maybe Aquaman in any DCEU movie. The acting is worse. Yeah, I don't know. So that's it. I'm done. Thank you for listening. I've been able to illuminate certain things about this movie. Thanks.